You're listening to Remotely One, a podcast that educates, entertains, and inspires you to take your life back from the office commute. I'm Rick, a former beer rep who left the warehouse to become a voice actor and digital creator.
And I'm Kaleem, a remote work advocate and consultant. We're going to speak with some of the top professionals who have managed to avoid the commute as they share stories from the most inspiring to the most comical, all while working remotely.
Man, this sounds awesome. Let's clock in.
Hello, guys.
How you doing, sir? How you doing?
I'm doing amazing.
That's great.
Is good. Amazing.
Yes. Amazing is amazing. It's more than good.
Yes, it is.
What time is it there on that side of the world?
It is 6 p.m. in Cyprus.
Excellent.
Okay. You're still looking fresh for 6 p.m., sir. I mean, like, did you just hop in the shower and just get ready for the show?
Exactly what I did.
Awesome, man. Nice to finally meet you. I've seen you around. I've been following you for a while. I feel like I've known you for years. Actually, I want to ask you, do you know what Kaleem means?
Kaleem is in Arabic, right?
I believe so.
So Kalima mean the word.
Yes, speaker, baby. Speaker.
Nice.
Word.
We had a
The
recording
word.
The
Word.
it's the word. Oh, my head. My head.
My gosh.
My head. I thought it meant speaker.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Jeff Frick here, coming to you from Remotely One. I'm a guest host today, and I'm excited to join my good buddy Kaleem Clarkson to come on over and help him out to join Remotely One. So, Kaleem, great to see you.
Oh, great to see you, bro. Thank you so much, by the way, man. The guest host, we got a professional today, everyone. We got Rick. You're a professional too, bro. Don't judge me. Don't judge me here, Rick. But we got a professional who has his own podcast. You got to check him out. Shout out to Work 20XX podcast. So go be sure to check Jeff out and his crew. And once again, Jeff, I appreciate you, bro.
My pleasure. But there's only one Rick, and Rick, we hope you get better. I know you had some other things you had to take care of today, so thanks for having me on. Before we get jumping in here, just want to give us a little favor, give us a shout out on ratethispodcast.com/remotely one. Rick and Kaleem have been at this for a while. Since 2015, Remotely One is one of the largest communities of remote work professionals with over 3,000 Slack members and 5,000 email subscribers. So good job to Rick and Kaleem. That's pretty amazing. It's free to join, so go check it out at remotely1.com. So with that out of the way, Kaleem, tell us a little bit about our guest today.
Ooh, Jeff. You know what I'm saying? When I do these intros, I just get so nervous because, number one, they just remind me of just how little I am. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, Jeff? Like, they're just like so intimidating. Today's guest is no different. They're sitting there, they're intimidating. No, I'm just playing. They're super nice. But our guest today, all right, Jeff? Our guest today is originally from Lebanon, okay? And they lived in France, went to school in France, and now currently resides, you ready for this, at an island called Cyprus, right? In the Mediterranean, an island, Jeff. That's where they are.
A person of the world.
A person of the world. Our guest today also got their bachelor's in computer science. So back in the day, our guest was coding some shit in the Matrix, just like Neo was chilling with Neo in the Matrix. What do you think about Neo?
Which color?
Let's see. Oh, that kind of led our guest to becoming really just a serial startup entrepreneur, right? So our guest created one company called M-Blocks, which was acquired by another company called Cinch back in the day. Then he didn't stop there, Jeff. He didn't stop there. Moved on to another company called Paymo, which was acquired by a little company we may all heard of, Twilio. Every developer has heard of Twilio. If you develop any apps, you always plug it into the Twilio API. So that's a big company for some of y'all that don't know.
But we all know. We all get the notifications coming out of Twilio all the time. So you know it more than you know that you know it.
Yes, that is true. Oh, something that most people don't know about our guest. And guest, I'm going to ask you real quick. Jeff, our guest has 2 birthdays, one in July and one in August. Real quick, guest, why do you have 2 birthdays real quick? Why do you have 2 birthdays?
Because the guy who was in charge of registering me and getting my birth certificate when I was born, he went there and forgot when I was born. And back then, there was no phone lines. You couldn't
No.
text somebody, right? So he put the date of the day, and I'm so blessed to have 2 birthdays, and I get all these amazing congratulations for like 10 days.
It's probably great when you're 5, right? You get two setups.
One birthday in July and one in August. They're not even in the same month, Jeff. They're not even in the same month. Okay, let's see. Our guest has written and been featured in. You ready for this list of publications? Inc. Magazine, Fast Company, Forbes, and Fortune. Just a few, Jeff. Just a few. Geez, let me get this towel, dog. I'm nervous. I'm sweating. Our guest also is a LinkedIn top voice for leadership. Shout out to our guest. Last but not least, Jeff. Last but not least, our guest. You ready for this? Our guest is the co-founder and CEO of Oyster, which is a global employment platform that has raised $225 million over the years and is currently has a $1 billion valuation. Whew.
The world is his oyster, huh?
Ooh, the world is his oyster. I love it, Jeff. I love it. Listeners and viewers, please give a warm welcome to Tony Jamous. Go! Woo! Settle down, studio audience. Settle down. They're too loud. Sorry about that, Tony. The studio audience is crazy. They're crazy.
Fire.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you.
Welcome, Tony. So let's jump into it. So you, as Kaleem just said, multiple time startup founder, multiple exits, multiple, selling the company, but it wasn't all sweetness and happiness and easy. I know it was from that experience as part of the reason that you started Oyster, and you started it with a little different mission and a little different kind of foundation. I wonder if you can tell us, as you finished all the successful exits, you took a break and you decided to do something else. Give us a little background.
Yeah, so first, thank you guys for having me. This is such a warm introduction. This is like the most fun introduction I've ever had on a podcast. So
yes,
grateful.
We
Kaleem
take that,
the
sir.
best.
We take that. That's what we're trying to do, baby.
I love these fun things because I love to do these podcasts because even if I screw up, like there's nothing at stake. It's like this best part of my work is to just have fun with amazing people like you. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. And to go back to Jeff's question, so before starting Oyster, actually 13 years ago, I started a hyper-growth technology company called Nexmo. Actually, it was a competitor to Twilio. We were the main competitor to Twilio. I took the company public in mid-2016 by doing a merger with Vonage, which led to its acquisition by Ericsson for $6.5 billion a few years ago. So I left that business. I've done my work in mid-2018, and I was committed to take a break, to take a year off sabbatical before I decide what I'm going to do next, if I'm going to do anything, because I didn't need it to work. And I had to go through a lot of inner work, a lot of questions about why I'm here on this planet. I was really dedicated to my mental health in that year because I had all this money and then I was feeling miserable in my life, right? My relationship were not great. My health was not great. I was this like typical founder who burns out every 3 months and work like nonstop, right? So I needed to recalibrate myself and understand why I'm here on this planet. And that led me to start Oyster as a mission-driven company, first and foremost, on a mission to make the world more free and equal by democratizing access to global job opportunities. And as Kaleem mentioned, I was forced to leave my home country when I was in my teen years to France to study, to hope for a better economical future. You can call me an economical refugee. And at that young age, leaving my tribe, my community, my land was a very difficult experience for me. I was on my own in a foreign country, and I had to really succeed in order to give that protection for my family back home. So I created Oyster so that people like me doesn't have to go through this, doesn't have to feel what I felt, and bring the opportunity to them. They can stay in their community, they can stay in their tribe, and then amazing job opportunities can be possible to them by removing the barriers for companies in the world to be able to employ anyone anywhere. The world is your oyster when you're looking for a job, and the world is your oyster when you're looking for talent.
Tony, I wonder if before we get to Oyster, just to reflect back on it, because from the outside looking in, you look like a tremendous success, right? You look like a huge success. You made all this money. You're an entrepreneur. You built the company. You IPO'd. You sold it. Share for people that what that actually takes, because I think people only see the silver lining. They don't necessarily understand the effort and the sacrifices that you have to make, because you still have the same 24 hours a day as everybody else, and you got to make hard trade-offs and decisions. So I wonder if you can share, I don't want to say the dark side, but people maybe don't really understand what it's all about to be a CEO of a high-growth company in a hyper-competitive market.
Yeah, you have to be obsessed with what you do. You have to be extremely dedicated and committed. Quitting is not an option, although you have to say, in many times in my career as an entrepreneur and a CEO of hyper-growth companies, like I wanted to quit so many times, but you cannot quit. And that makes you face your fears, makes you clarify your purpose, makes you align what you do is with what you believe in, and that keeps you going. That enables you to have higher degree of resilience and stamina to overcome a lot of these challenges you face. And the more you become successful and the more your business become bigger, the bigger the challenges you're going to be faced with. So this is what I realized. But actually, your ability to deal with these issues will also become bigger, right? So you become more experienced and more capable.
Interesting. So change. You're talking about change right there as the organization grows. Can you talk a little bit about some of those challenges as those companies were growing right before you decided to sell? What were some of the challenges common challenges now that you've worked on 3 companies? What are some of the common challenges that you are dealing with as you're beginning to scale from, the seed round to Series A to Series B? Like, what are some of the common challenges that you remember going through?
Yeah, so one of the major challenges is how do you ensure that the team that you have, your leadership team, is one that is fit for that phase of the business, right? So you hire people in the beginning that are amazing to get you from 0 to 1. But then as a company grow and scale, you have to ensure that these people can grow with the opportunity, can have that experience, get to take them from 1 to 10 or 1 to 100. So that's a big challenge for entrepreneurs that are on a hyper growth, right? And 0 to 100 million of revenue in less than 5 years in the 2 companies I founded in the last 13 years. So you always kind of need to replenish this leadership structure. You have to take care of it. You have to always think about evolving it. You have to lead and coach your team to grow. You have to support them on that growth journey. And you have to surround them with the right environment and the right skill set to help them grow and be successful. That's number 1. Number 2 is how do you keep the growth engine going? Like in order for you to be perceived as a high growth or a hyper growth company, you have to be obsessed with growth. You have to find new segments. You have to find new techniques of growing. You have to find new ways of acquiring customers. You have to have new ways of servicing these customers so you become more efficient and you become more scalable. And thirdly, one of the major challenges, especially in technology, is competition. Because most competitors, they're playing this game to win. They want to kill you. Like they're in that mindset. So they come and they try to hire your people, give them more salaries. They try to say bad things about you in the market. And like most competitors don't play nice.
It's gangster out there. It's gangster out there is what you're saying. The Mamba mentality. Everybody's out there trying to just, kill you, like you said. That's crazy.
And it's completely unnecessary because the market is so big. We live in an abandoned world, guys. And so I like this concept called the infinite game from Simon Sinek. I don't know if you've seen his latest book about this topic. It's like, guys, there's no need to beat the competition. You have to beat yourself to be better every day. But if you're obsessed with the competition, you're gonna burn your energy and you're gonna burn the market. So I see a lot of that behavior. I've always seen that, like aggressive behavior from the competition that is completely unnecessary just because there is a big ego that is driving who's better and who's bigger, which is makes no sense to nobody.
Yeah. One of Simon's other things he loves to talk about is the why. That's his other big theme. Why are you doing it? And it's interesting to go from specifically high growth, which was your lead adjective, and some of those other opportunities, to, as you just said, a mission-driven organization. So what does mission-driven actually mean? And how do you make that a priority? Because you've still got investors, as Kaleem mentioned, they want to get an ROI on their return. You've got employees with stock, presumably, and customers. So how
Yeah.
does mission driven really fit, and how do you keep that as a priority?
So first, Jeff, great question. Why mission driven? Because mission driven is better for business. Mission driven enable you to succeed more. There's been 300 studies done in the last 40 years that look at the correlation between financial success and your ESG and CSR initiatives in the business. Okay, so there's no doubt being mission driven makes you more financially successful, but it also enables you to attract better people, because people don't want to only work for a company just for a paycheck that is only has a purpose to make more money. They want to work with a company that makes them feel fulfilled. They want to connect with the work they're doing. They want to make a difference in this world. So you end up acquiring the best talent in the world. Thirdly, you get better customers and more customers, because customers, again, they want to buy from companies that are aligned with their values. So that's why. Why mission driven? Because it's better for business. And secondly, your question, Jeff, was about, well, how do you make it happen? So the formula we crack at Oyster is to align your business model with your impact. And we just launched our impact report last week. We launch it every year, that enables us to measure how many team members we employ in emerging economies, how much money we send in terms of foreign direct investments in the form of salary and taxes to these communities that need that money. How many people are improving their life with Oyster? What is the lift in salaries that they get working through Oyster and working through non-Oyster? So we measure all of that. And the beauty of our model is that the more we grow our revenue, the more we deliver impact. We have 40% of our team members in emerging economies. That was 30% 2 years ago.
Unbelievable.
So, and then you operationalize it. You drive your strategy with it. Our strategy is to be the best of breed platform for cross-border employment. Everything we do is for cross-border employment. Every one of our rivals, they're doing local HR, they do local payroll. We're not interested in that. We are unique in our sense that we are here, although these are very lucrative markets to go into, right? And they might grow faster than us. But we are driven by our mission that drives our product roadmap and drive everything we do.
Oh my gosh. Tony, you are basically singing what we're all talking about. Like,
Yes.
and the fact that you just explained it like that, it's just really great to hear. You have all of these companies right now that are forcing their employees back to the office, that are doing things that aren't necessarily aligning with their quote unquote mission. You have companies, I'm not going to say their names, but you have companies where their whole business is about connecting maybe on video. We all know who I'm talking about probably. And then you're all coming back to the office. That contradicts the mission of your product. What in the F are you doing? So it was just really good. The thing that we talk about at Blend when we're working with our clients, and I'm just so happy you said mission driven, because that's who we want to work with too. But like, the reality is there are two things that you said that are critical if you're going to be mission driven. You said impact and measure.
Yes.
Ooh, look at the bubbles. Impact and measure. If you do not measure, you cannot have impact. You
Yes.
have to measure. So thank you.
You're welcome, Kaleem. And I just want to say, the future of work is not in office, hybrid, remote. The future of work, in my opinion, is empathy-based management and leadership. Is to be in touch with the real need of your employees. And by forcing employees to commute back to the office, like, you're completely disconnected from the real need of your employees. Like, there's no need to add additional burden from work on their lives if it's completely unnecessary.
Yeah. And just, I don't know, you could update the numbers. I saw somewhere, Tony, 600 people in 80 countries. And I think you said you're the only person in the country in which you reside. So you
Yep.
guys are clearly practicing what you preach. I want to shift gears a little bit because you had another interesting concept in terms of a leadership philosophy, which kind of is similar to your mission, where we often hear of servant leadership or service leadership, which is one of the more progressive styles, which the idea of, the boss is there to use their resources to remove roadblocks to help people get their job done. You've got a slightly different twist that you call sustainable leadership. And what
Yeah.
I found is really interesting is the different layers of sustainability that you've described, starting with number one, which you always go back to you get on the airplane. What's the first thing they tell you? Put your seatbelt on first, or do your own mask first before you help anyone else that needs help. I wonder if you can share a little bit about the development of your sustainable leadership and some of those different layers that all build upon themselves to help you have a more successful organization.
Sustainable leadership, Jeff, means for me is you have to take care of yourself as a leader in order for you to be able to be present to your team. If you're always in a reactive mode, you're not there for your team. If you're sending a Slack message at 2 a.m. in the morning to them, you're going to actually push that pressure on them and you're going to pollute their lives unnecessarily. Schedule it, send it at 2 a.m., but let it appear next day at 9 a.m. If you don't disconnect and take some time off and recharge, if you don't show that you are human, you're vulnerable sometimes. Actually, it happened to me a few times at Oyster where I tell guys, hey, I'm burned out right now. I need my space. I'm going to disappear for 2 days. Come back. So that's what sustainable leadership is. And I've been practicing since. It's been amazing. It's been amazing to really use Oyster as an opportunity to take care of myself because I don't want to burn out anymore as a leader. I don't need to do this. I want to do this. And if I want to do this, I want
Need
to
to
do it
do
on my
this.
terms. I want to live where I want to live. I want to work where I want to work. And I want to be surrounded with people that are from everywhere in the world. We are, as you said, we are in 80 countries, probably over 100 nationalities, gender equal across the board, including the management team and on my board. So that's what sustainable leadership is. And I want to say, like, my core belief is that I believe in the infinite potential of humans. And I believe there is an environment in which you put people in, and then you unlock their infinite potential and you unlock their growth. And that environment is a combination of, from one hand, about caring and nurturing and supporting, and from the other hand, is about daring and pushing the limit. You have to do both at the same time.
Let me ask you something about sustainability, because like my first thought just went to something that exists past yourself.
Wow.
That's where I thought you were going with that. Um,
Oh.
but I wanted to ask you a
No, no,
question.
no. Can you go deeper into that, please?
Yeah, yeah, I want.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this idea that we're all trying to be sustainability. We're all doing this so that the Earth is healthier after we die.
yeah.
That's like the main objective of sustainability overall. And
That's
I love this term of because a lot of people will use succession planning.
yeah,
Um, but earlier, when you talked about Oyster scaling or just actually startup scaling and the challenges that you're dealing with when you're hiring in the beginning, can you talk a little bit about what learning and development or what you were doing with some of those companies where you actually developed your leaders to be able to take on those new challenges as you progress? I feel like a lot of, especially founders, are reactive,
yes.
right? Like what you said, are reactive and not thinking forward. Can you talk about the importance of development of your team and your leadership team? And can you
Yeah,
talk about how you do that from a remote perspective?
absolutely. So you have to have clear principles and values. So, in our case, it's about building trust is one of our core values. Thriving together is a core value as well. And elevating talent is another core value. And I look at my leaders and I come and I recognize them in public when they're behaving within these values. And when they're not, I go in private and give them some feedback.
Ooh, I love
Uh,
that. Recognize in public, not criticize, but suggest privately. Nice.
Absolutely, absolutely. Secondly, is about modeling the way. I need to be the best leader in my business for so that they can see me how I lead and learn from me. We all have these mirror neurons, right? So we can mimic, especially when you look at your boss. It's like a child looking up to their parents. You want to be like them. So by actually cleaning my energy system and modeling the way in this behavior, I influence everybody I interact with. It's like I posted something on LinkedIn recently. It's like going to work for me here in my home office. When I go downstairs into my home office, it's like entering a temple. I clean myself, I clean my emotions, I ensure I'm not in a reactive mode, and I come and be present to my people. I want to go back, Kaleem, to what you said around this, like we are taking care of the planet, right? Sustainability is taking care of the planet. And there is something about that is about what I call consciousness development for leaders. So you have to realize that you're not an independent entity. You're a part of a bigger system, and you're all connected, and we're all one. In order for you to not only take care of your people, but also to be more mission connected with your mission and aligned with your purpose. And that's the practice I've been doing since I started Oyster. Actually, this is why I started Oyster, because I was doing this retreat that enabled me to expand my consciousness, and my therapist told me, don't take any important decisions for the next 10 days. So I went and incubated Oyster the next day in November 2019, because I realized that that pain that I felt, it's not only me that is feeling that pain to immigrate and leave my tribe, everybody in my situation. So I expanded my consciousness to hundreds of millions of people and realized actually I can do something to help them.
I'm curious, Tony. I heard an interview with Toby Redshaw, and he talked about trying to get people to give marginal effort and discretionary effort, and the change in productivity when someone is really in the boat and really pulling hard versus showing up is huge. It can be 10x, it can be 10%. It makes a huge difference. Why do you think there's the resistance from kind of traditional thinkers in seeing that doing things the better way is not only better for people's health and emotion and a bunch of, some might say, softer sides, but it also has direct business benefit because you get better contributions from the team, you
Yeah.
get a more diverse perspectives, you get people leaning in and trying to solve problems, you push problem solving down closer and decision making to the people that are closest to the problem. What's the resistance and the holdback to doing it the way that we've always done it versus embracing some of these new concepts when there's data that's pretty clear that it's going to result in better financial performance for the organization as well?
Great question, Jeff. In my opinion, this is linked to fear from leaders to fail, because this has worked the old way we did this worked. Why we need to change is I'm taking risk that is actually creating more anxiety for me, and I need to run away from that risk, right? So that's why consciousness development is critical here, because when you do this emotional development as a leader, you become more sensitive to your inner experience, and you feel that fear coming into your body, and then you say, "Oh, this is fear. That's an illusion. I don't have to react to that fear. I can take that risk. I can expand and try new ways of changing, of improving my business and improving my people."
Interesting. And that's also, I think, just, people just aren't comfortable with vulnerability and being humble, and that these are actually great leadership traits, and you don't need to know all the right answers. And it's okay to be
Yeah.
wrong or to have a question and ask someone who's a more junior but is closer to the problem what they think.
That's actually, Jeff, also a link to the how we created leadership, the perception of leadership for the last few thousand years, actually, since we had empires, right? So what happened? I'm reading a book recently called The Great Turning that looks at the history of the human consciousness development, and specifically when it comes to leadership. And 5,000 years ago and before, we were living in harmony, we were living in tribes. And then when resources started to get scarce, we started having fear. And then one of the tribes started to become dominant and aggressive and started to dominate the other tribe. And that created the modern way of leading today. Like in the last few thousand years, it accelerated in the last 50 years, is a system that's really about dominating, not sharing power. And so leaders, we are like, I feel like I'm expected to be aggressive. That some people come to work with me and bringing their old trauma from their previous experiences, and
Right,
they
right.
expect me to be this top-down decision maker and this aggressive leader. And I'm learning how to manage that. I'm learning how to, I call these energy systems. One is the eagle, that is like my flight and flight response. Eagle is like this, is a predator. And the other one is the condor. The condor is, which is like fly higher than the eagle, has bigger vision, and is a scavenger, like take care of the environment. So depending on the situation I'm in, I'm learning how to show up as an eagle or as a condor. And this is
I
a
like that. I like that.
very like spiritual story that drives my behavior at work.
It makes a lot. It makes a lot of sense. Now, Tony, I got a question for you. It might be a little controversial for you. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but you're in the business of pay. You're in the business of, you know, payment processing or payroll, should we say?
Yeah.
I have a question about your opinion on location-based pay versus location-independent based pay. So, for people who don't know what that is, location-based pay would be a company that would say you move to San Francisco, you get paid this amount, but if you move to Idaho, you're gonna get paid less. Okay, so there is that. That's location-based pay. Then there's location-independent based pay, which means, hey, no matter where you live in the whole world, we're going to pay you the same amount of money no matter where you live. So without me telling you how I feel about it, I'm just curious, what's your take on it, sir? What's your
Yeah.
take?
My take here, Kaleem, thank you for the question. My take that like this inequality that we see based on the location is nothing more than the result of this unequal system that we created in the last 2,000 years.
Okay.
And like for me, like poverty, because I came from a very poor background, poverty is an illusion. It's like people make you feel that you're poor. It's a feeling, and doesn't have to exist. So I believe that in the future, we want to drive the world to be location independent, especially as we have remote work, we have knowledge work, we have over 1 billion knowledge workers coming into the workforce in the next 10 years, mostly from emerging economies. So by removing the barriers for companies to tap into that global talent pool, we create more equality in the system. And we already see that. The salaries of remote workers, let's take an Argentinian software developer, used to be paid 40K a year, and now they are paid 120K a year.
Wow.
It's still less, it's just half of what they get paid in the Bay Area.
Yes.
But for these
Still.
roles, for high demand roles that can be done remotely, and there's more and more of them. Think about sales executive, customer service representative, you can marketers, product managers, accountant. All of these jobs can be standardized and be done from any country. You only need a laptop and a good internet connection. Then we're going to see that gap closing. So now how we do it at Oyster. So at Oyster, we do location based, but what we do is we split the world into three zones.
Ooh, the world.
Yes.
Interesting. Instead of getting granular to country, you do the world.
Yeah.
Well done. Okay.
Because we have people everywhere,
Right,
and
right, right.
our key is to make people feel that they are treated fairly. I don't know if you remember, guys, this study they did with the monkeys, where they put one monkey in a cage and they gave them a cucumber, and nearby there's another cage with a monkey, and they gave that banana, and the cucumber monkey was like shouting and threw the cucumber away. If they give both of them a banana or both of them a cucumber, it is peace, right? So this feeling of being treated unfairly is ingrained in us. It's like our animal brain. So you need to be sensitive to that. So what we do at Oyster is for the people that are in expensive cities, we pay on 50% of the market. But for the more we go into countries that have lower cost of living, the more we lift that percentage up. So we
Ah,
pay people like 80% or 90% of what they would be worth in a given country if they are from a country that is on more on the low side when it comes to cost of living. And why we do that? Because we're still operating in the capitalistic system. set of investors to report to.
Cost of
And
living. You can't control the world's cost of living. So, you're trying to adjust as best as you can. But I mean, separating it by the world, I haven't heard that yet. I'm sure there are companies that do that, but like, I think your division is much higher and gives people more options than, going to down to the country level. And in some cases in the US, even going down to the state
yeah,
level. So what you're doing is amazing.
yeah.
So, Tony, Pierre Nanterre, he was also French and used to be the CEO of Accenture years ago. Unfortunately, he passed away too young. But one of the things that he used to talk about is demographics is the trend, and every other trend follows off demographic trends because it's big and it moves slowly and impacts us all.
Yeah.
You're right on top of that. And you've talked briefly about kind of this imbalance between demand for talent and where the talent is. And you're bridging that gap by basically breaking down geographic divides. The other piece that I've heard you talk about that's interesting is learning, and the fact that with YouTube and all these tools now, anyone, anywhere, if they have the right access, can learn anything. So we're getting to the end, Tony. We will ask all guests, tell us a comical or inspiring moment from your remote working experience.
Well, I don't know if it's embarrassing or not. I'm actually proud of it. I'm proud of it.
Okay.
What is cool about remote work is I could be on my headphone listening to a Zoom call or in a board meeting
Yep.
and putting some music in the background and I'll be dancing, moving my hips here. You don't see I'm moving. And I keep my hips moving, keeps me mobile, keeps my energy system clean,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm. Can you salsa? Can you salsa?
yeah, whatever. We can do whatever. Yes.
Okay. I'm getting
That's
the
great.
visual. I'm getting the visual of your ability to dance. Okay.
That's why we only do one in-person board meeting a year. The other three are virtual, and it's a great way to actually reduce your stress level to keep moving. In the past, I used to have like treadmill walking on, but then I realized, actually, okay, know why? I can dance. Why I have to walk like straight? I can keep moving and keep shifting all this energy. Yeah, it's been great.
Wait. So let me get this. Let me get this straight. Are you telling me that
Look at him
in your
go. Come on.
I can sense it. Are you telling me that in your meetings you have your whole company on and you're dancing?
I'm dancing.
I love it.
The kids are moving.
Dancing. Everything else is bullshit.
Exactly.
There's so much power in the music to change your mood, right?
Imagine like making such a big decision with the board, right? And then you're dancing, right?
Oh my
I
That's
love
a
it.
great way to manage your stress. Only possible if you work from home. Unless you work in the dancing industry, that's another story.
I'm just curious, how often do you get together with your team? What's kind of your cadence for actually getting people together?
Twice a year. I mean, not the whole company because that's very expensive, but my team, my leadership team, we meet twice a year.
Back to dancing. Hang on. I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the dancing thing. So wait. Do you dance if you're letting someone go?
Like I haven't had that experience yet to dance and letting someone go, but I'll try it because it's moving, shifting your emotional energy through physically gets you to be more present, gets you to relativize, to be less reactive, right? Because you're not this fear or this sadness, like they're not stuck in your body, they're like releasing all the time. So it's actually makes you a better decision maker, makes you be more compassionate to people. Let's say if you're firing somebody, then yeah, I think that I recommend it to every remote worker on this planet.
Maybe it would be more of a slow dance. Maybe you do more of a, more of a slow dance if you have to let someone go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like salsa, you just keep it going. You know what I mean? Like that's too much. I think that's
With
too
classical
much.
music, put some classical music.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is great. That is unbelievable. Well, thank you for sharing that, Tony. That's the first. We've definitely never had anyone on the show tell us that they dance while working remotely, especially a CEO of a company your size. So your meetings must be fun as hell. That's awesome.
Well, it tells you something that we're coming to the end of our time. We barely talked about the business and all the great things that you offer and the details and the nitty gritty, but I think it really highlights that it's the top level things that are really the more important things. And I think the skills that used to be described as soft skills are actually the critical skills that enable all the detailed stuff that happens under the cover. So we could go forever. I got pages of notes, but unfortunately the clock keeps ticking. So Tony, how can people get a hold of you? Where can they reach out and connect?
They can find me on LinkedIn.
There it is. Just search for Tony Jamous. Yes. And bonjour, monsieur. Comment allez-vous? That's all I know. That's all I know.
Very good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Tony. We really appreciate it. Come back anytime and can't wait to meet you in person for the first time. But I guess I got to go to a Mediterranean island to do that.
That's a good trade.
An invitation for you already. Here we go.
Awesome. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Thank you.
Peace.
You've been listening to Remotely One. Visit us at remotely1.com/podcast for upcoming episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and download our episodes on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, don't forget to clock out.